Welcome to CooLife Podcast, brought to you by therealthingdating.com. www.therealthingdating.com.
Polydor Records for out scouting. This girl grabbed my bangs and ran my head right into the speaker.
Oh.
And everyone heard like this, yeah.
When we shot the scene in Good Will Hunting, I didn't know who most of these people were at the time. I mean, they weren't stars. It was Gus Van Sant that directed it. Gus Van Sant was on the floor with Matt Damon's character. I didn't even know who Matt Damon was at that time.
I'm Eva John. I'm a former candidate for local government. I was a children's television entertainer, and I love this world, and I believe we should take care of each other and have a lot of fun along the way. Welcome to CooLife. Here we go. And welcome to CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John, and welcome to a whole new season. And today we have VITTORIA Gallone with us, real estate agent. Welcome, VITTORIA.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So glad to have you back, and so glad to be able to have this kind of nice conversation about real estate, which affects so many different parts of our economy, our lives, our home lives. And we've made it out of 2023. And have you noticed any big trends that occurred in real estate through 2023?
So, we have to talk about the interest rates, right? So Bank of Canada, they made 8 increments, 8 changes hiking up the rates. So that's huge in 2023. Another highlight, first-time home buyers were on the sidelines because the interest hikes, as well. The rental demand was increased a lot because house prices, and of course, first-time buyers feeling that they can't get into the market as well. So those are the kind of the couple of things that stood out for me in this market.
Right, and those are big ones. I mean, especially with interest rate changing, over a year, and there's, I guess, a lot of ripple effect from the economic changes after the pandemic, and the fact that so many different industries all kind of spring out from real estate. So it's a wider image of the economy that gets affected by something like interest rates. You were mentioning renters. And are there incentives now, anything that's new, that's an incentive for a renter to change from renting their home to becoming a buyer?
Yes, first-time home buyers, there are some incentives, and I would encourage people to look at the government website, and then you'll learn about the one incentive program. As long as you haven't, it's your first home, and you haven't bought anything, and you're a Canadian citizen, you can take advantage of it. So what the government did was they're offering 5 to 10%.
Going back a little bit with some of the incentives, are the bank lending rates getting to a point where is helping the new buyer? Like, do you see people struggling once they've, settled on what they want versus what they can get as far as a loan based on the way the rates are at the moment?
So as I mentioned, right, so Bank of Canada with hiking the interest rates, right? So they have an actual set schedule. It's 8 times. It's 8 times. But what they've done in the last 3, I believe now it's the last 3 times, they're on hold at 5%. Okay. So, I mean, fixed for variable rate, actually, people's prices, they've noticed that have gone up, I mean, including myself. So the interest rate hikes, especially on variable, have gone up, and people have noticed, I mean, the increase in mortgage payments. And so it is higher, which has been a deterrent for people to buy in the last few months, right? Because of the interest rates, definitely, and the variable rates.
So with the current state of interest rates, are you seeing that affect new buyers? Is that making it harder for new buyers to enter the market due to the state of the interest rates now?
Yes, they are hesitant, and the buyers are on the sidelines because of the interest rates, right? Therefore, even the inventory of homes that aren't available. So, like I said, if you get pre-approved, then it might be a good time to buy because they're slightly reduced.
A lot to think about, especially someone who's getting excited about the idea of becoming a homeowner. And there is quite a dance that goes on between, picking the right time and, when you feel not just you've saved up some money, you and your partner, your spouse, your family, and you're ready to jump in, but maybe the market isn't ready. So one of the things that I wonder, now this might seem a roundabout way to say it. So basically, if high interest rates can cause less spending and less growth, that has its own effect on the economy. If that reduces inflation when we have high interest rates, that's great because we think we're going to be propelling our economy forward. But then with lower interest rates, that can trigger a lower rate of inflation, which can then be more conducive to real estate sales. But have we come full circle to the point where now we're getting more real estate sales as a result of the interest rates changing and the rate of inflation finally starting to go down? Have we got to that point?
Normally, house prices move pretty lock in step with interest rate increases. As interest rates come down, house prices go up. There wasn't a huge decline in house prices that we'd expect because there was a lack of supply of housing in Canada. And until it's fixed, interest rates on their own aren't going to get us back to housing affordability solution. Bank of Canada said these issues contribute to inflation and impede on interest rates. After Bank of Canada raised rates, house prices across Canada fell 17% from last year.
Okay.
They rebounded in February, and when Bank of Canada took a step back from hiking the rates, so then rent went up to $2,000 a month, and then
wait a minute. So that became the average rent price was $2,000 a month?
Yes.
Wow. That's
And
harsh.
the average, yeah. And house costs, like in smaller cities like Guelph and Kitchener, they became more expensive as well.
Right.
But this thing where the federal government's taking steps, right, for new housing, for example, and they're going to cut taxes so that developers can build new rental properties, right? So that will help. So we haven't come full circle yet.
Okay. Well, interesting to know, and thank you for that view on where we are right now, waiting for more of an uptick in the market. And for now, we're going to take a break and talk about our sponsors and supporters, and then we'll be back with more real estate talk with Vittoria Gallone, a real estate agent on CooLife Podcast. Those lonely days of lockdowns and isolation are gone for good. Go to www.therealthingdating.com. That's www.therealthingdating.com. It's time to share. Share your time, share your life, share your love. www.therealthingdating.com. Join for free. Upgrade at any time, starting at just $5.99 a month. www.therealthingdating.com. Because it's time. You're listening to the CooLife Podcast. We'll be back in 3, 2, 1. And we are back on CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John with Vittoria Gallone, real estate agent. And we're continuing our conversation. Vittoria, can you tell me, are we getting to a point where houses are going to start selling like hotcakes again?
Well, at this moment, I mean, from October, November to, the spring, it's slowed down. So it's quieter. But there are houses selling. There are houses selling. I mean, our brokerage, we're selling homes all the time, and there's listings, even though the inventory is low. I think, again, we talked about the interest rates and that effect on that.
Right.
But come spring, I believe that it'll pick up again,
Mm.
And if the interest rates hold, then there's obviously there's a chance that house prices will increase,
Right.
and then there'll be some competition.
Mm.
Mhm.
And, even with the whole idea of, how the housing market picks up in a certain climate, in a certain season. Now, is it that at the moment there really is, as you were mentioning, inventory in houses? Is it that there's fewer houses on the market, or is it that there's fewer buyers looking for houses?
There's fewer people putting their house on the market because I think they're feeling, because houses have come down, prices have come down,
Right.
so they're not going to get the money that they wanted. However, I think it's been my experience that some houses are selling for what they're worth, where they're priced well, and they're selling. And they're
Mhm.
selling. People are selling because there's always a reason to sell, right? People move, whether it's they're moving for a job, or whether it's unfortunate, whether it's a divorce or a death. But houses are always on the market.
Right.
And so they're there, but not as they were when the interest rates were lower. But I would still say it's a buyer's market in that, because some of these homes are priced a little lower to be able to move, that if a buyer is qualified, then it may be a good time to buy. And those buyers that are looking, or sellers, buyers who are looking during this time over Christmas, over the winter,
Right.
are actually serious buyers. They can be serious buyers.
Ah.
So sellers, if you need to sell, then you should prepare your home. And actually, in one of my newsletters last month, I was speaking to this about selling your home over the winter months and what's the right time to sell. So it could be a good time to sell. And with the holidays, dressing up your house and curb appeal and all those good things that are important, you can successfully do that.
That's an interesting take on the season and the fact that, in the time when, we wonder with winter months that it's a little more difficult to get around, especially in this part of the world, that's going to affect it. Now, does new home construction make a noticeable change in the market for homes being sold?
new construction, particularly in condominiums, what I've noticed is the new constructions are actually on the decline as far as selling. So resale condos have actually, there was an uptick in resale condos.
Right.
And same with residential and existing homes rather than new homes. Now, some may think that it's attractive, new construction,
Right.
because they can push it out, if you're waiting for your home to be built for 2-3 years. With that, though, I would encourage people to read the fine print when you're speaking with a developer and buying new construction.
Right.
Because there's, you have to pay, make periodical payments throughout the building of your home. So you want to be prepared for those. And you want to also just read the fine print about, occupancy times and what happens if the new home or condominium is not built when you expected it.
Right.
Some things to keep in mind for new construction.
It is a little tricky with a new construction for those reasons. I mean, I've a friend or two, not to be named, who basically their philosophy is they never want to move into a resale house. That their idea of having a home is a new construction, that they're the first, last, and only person who gets a say on what this home is going to be like. And I know there are a few people out there that's the only thing they're looking for. But I guess it's knowing that transition, because you're living somewhere before moving into that new construction. And you're right. And if that's the date that they expect it to be finished, different factors, weather, supply chain issues, which have become a real issue in the last couple of years.
Right.
They affect the delivery date on that finished home.
Right.
Yeah.
And then once you move into a new construction home, you have to be aware of the, if there's any deficiencies, right?
Right.
And how long you have to bring those to the table, have them corrected, and what will be rectified versus what may not be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like the word deficiencies. I've had to walk through 3 and 4 and 5 times on a property that, afterwards going through with the captain of the construction company, who kept saying, "Oh no, that's normal. That's light. No, that doesn't need to be stained over again," and things like that.
Right. Right.
My idea of hearing about deficiencies would be like, you know what? Let's put a plant in front of it. I don't think I would ever want to do those walkthroughs again. In your experience, working at your brokerage and your coworkers, have you noticed, is it easier to move a newly constructed home, get a sale, than on a resale home?
So my experience has been the resale homes. They move, and I found that they move. I haven't done a new construction and to move that, but our brokerage definitely has new construction, and we might team up with developers, and where we can work with them and help them to sell new construction. So definitely they are moving.
Right.
But the resales, my experience has been for myself that the resales move quickly.
Then, I thought there'd be a lot of excitement with something that they can put their own mark on, and new construction. Interesting that resale is still king. And so we'll take another break and talk about our sponsors and supporters, and we'll be back with more real estate talk on CooLife Podcast. Those lonely days of lockdowns and isolation are gone for good. go to www.therealthingdating.com. That's www.therealthingdating.com. It's time to share. Share your time, share your life, share your love. www.therealthingdating.com. Join for free. Upgrade at any time, starting at just $5.99 a month. www.therealthingdating.com. Because it's time. This is CooLife Podcast. Please remember to subscribe to CooLife on your streaming service and on YouTube as Hellenique Today. That's HELENIQUE Today. Because that helps us to bring more cool stuff to your ears. You're listening to the CooLife Podcast. We'll be right back. And we are back at CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John with Vittoria Gallone, real estate agent, and we're continuing our real estate talk. Vittoria, can you tell me, I have been hearing a lot of big predictions for 2024 for the real estate market. Can you tell me, what is your take on what you think is coming for 2024?
2024. I think that what I've been reading, what we're getting from our association, is that the second half of 2024 would be an uptick in sales. So prices and competition for buyers may be there if the interest rates hold off. Right. So if Bank of Canada holds the interest rate, they're waiting for, of course, the inflation to come down to 2%. But in the second half of 2024, that's what the expectation is.
And so, fingers crossed, knowing interest rates will come down in 2024. And now sometimes we'll see different things that affect the economy. I know that when there was talk several years ago about bringing a new NHL team to one particular city in Ontario, housing prices just went up overnight and never really quite came down to where they were before. Now, when housing prices go up all of a sudden, does that also mean like a so-so averagey kind of a house suddenly gets a higher value?
I think for a house to get a value, there are homes that, you can have the smallest house, and people say that if you have the smallest house, but on a really good street, that's a good place to be because your house becomes more valuable.
Right.
And, but I think homes in general is, with the inventory being low too, my experience was last year, 2023, that homes sell because, for example, the inventory was low. Therefore, you don't necessarily have to have a bidding war, but because the inventory isn't there, houses, if you've got 2-3 buyers looking at a house, obviously, there might be an increased price tag on that house, right?
Right. Now, with again, coming into a new year and coming, through the winter, is it better for somebody to try to get ahead of the crowd and put their house on the market, or is it better for them to wait until the spring when most houses go onto the market?
It depends. It's entirely depends on your situation. Like we discussed before, whether there's a death or divorce or moving out of the city to work somewhere. It really is personal. However, the preparing your home for the spring, obviously the spring, summer months are when people are looking for homes,
Right.
right? And for various reasons. But it's also nice. The weather's nice, and the homes are looking good. The curb appeal, it has its curb appeal.
Right.
Kids are leaving school, finishing school, so parents want to get into another school district before the summer, ends, and be prepared in September. So there's various reasons, but I have had people put their house on the market over the winter months,
Right.
and it's like I said before, buyers who are looking over the winter months are serious
Mm-hmm.
because they know that it is slower and they want to be able to look for something. So it might be slower, and they may have a little bit more negotiating power.
Right. So that can be a big step for success if they time it right, for sure. So what's going to happen is we're going to end part 1 of our conversation about real estate talk, but we're coming back for part 2. Keep an eye out for our schedule. In the meantime, thank you so much, Victoria, and we're going to talk to you again soon here on CooLife Podcast. Bye for now. And that was our show. Thank you for listening to the very end. Please remember to subscribe through your streaming service to get more access to our guest interviews. Also, please subscribe on YouTube to help support our podcast. Until next time, I'm Eva John for CooLife Podcast. Thank you for turning me on.